In this video, we are going to discuss what is required to become a first degree member of the Alexandrian tradition. Now, what needs to be stated very clearly is that each tradition is different. So, in one part, we're going to be talking about books. While one coven might value one book more than the other, or have a completely different book. So this is not the guide for every tradition, but this is to give you an understanding what is required in some traditions, and so that you can apply this information to yourself. So, as dedication is a commitment to learn with the coven, there are some requirements before someone may become a dedicant. The pre-dedication requirements are as follows. That person desiring to dedicate would meet the following pre-dedication requirements. Completing the reading list for pre-dedicants. That is Drawing Down the Moon by Margot Adler, True Magic, a Beginner's Guide by Amber Kay. Now, like myself, I always tell people to read the Guide for the Solitary Practitioner by Scott Cunningham. So that would be part of my reading list. Continuing on. Attending one Esbat and one Sabbat. Okay. Attending at least one other coven's rituals. Attending the pre-dedication class listed on the following page. Acquiring a blank book to use as a book of shadows for the lunar rituals, dedication ritual, and initiations, etc. Acquiring a large string ring binder to use for class notes and handouts, spells, recipes, etc. Acquiring a blank book to be used as a magical journal, meditations, dreams, thoughts, and your spiritual journey. The pre-dedicant must ask the high priestess for dedication. They will then bring the request to the entire coven for a group decision. The pre-dedicant must attend a minimum of one additional Esbat or Sabbat after requesting the dedication. Okay. So, everybody asks, what do I need? Well, here's it telling you what you should have. You need to have the blank book for a book of shadows. You need the 3-ring binder to put information in, and another book to use as your, as they call it, the magical journal. This takes time. Okay, they're asking for 1 to 2 Esbats or 1 to 2 Sabbats. So this is going to take well over a month just to become eligible to become a neophyte. So you cannot do this, at spur of the moment. After meeting these pre-dedicant requirements, the individual would take the dedicate's oath as part of a regular Esbat circle during a waxy moon before all coven members. An example of an oath is below. I'm just going to leave it here for a moment so you can read this. After taking your oath of dedication, you are now considered a neophyte. Now becomes the actual start of your official journey to become a Wiccan high priest or priestess. During the time of dedication, A. The dedicant would make a serious attempt through classes, assigned exercises, meditation, ritual, reading, and intellect to come to some understanding of him or herself as a spiritual, as well as intellectual, physical, and emotional being in this world. B. The dedicant would seriously consider throughout the time of dedicacy the following: whether the Wiccan priest or priestesshood is the correct spiritual path for his or her life to follow, and whether this is the proper place for him or her to undertake the training for the Wiccan priestesshood. C. If the dedicant hasn't completed the requirements for initiation by the end of the first 3 months, a reaffirmation of the dedicant's choice to pursue the priestesshood would be done at a regular Esbat circle. This will be done at the end of the 6-month interval as well, if all the requirements have not been met. D. And that A and B would preferably culminate into formal entry into training in the Wiccan priestesshood, a first degree initiation equally valid if a dedicant finds the burden of the priestesshood unacceptable. She could opt to become part of the outer circle and take up further training at some time in the future if desired. The bulk of the dedicant's training centers on classes which she is expected to attend to the best of his or her ability. She should also attend the rituals which are open to dedicants. Rituals which are open to dedicants are new moon, Esbats, and Sabbats. All right, now this kind of lets you know that there is a lot of thinking to be done. There's a lot to do, and you are expected to do it. You don't get to, take your darn sweet time. They are expecting you to do all these classes within 3 months. And during this time, you have to attend Esbats, Sabbats, and other events. And so this is something that I don't feel a lot of people that are new to paganism are applying to themselves, and thus they are missing so much. As it has been discussed, a lot of your time as a neophyte is spent into classes. The list right next to me is the list of classes that the dedicant and the neophyte have to learn to advance. All of these classes must be achieved to become a first degree Wiccan. This is what's required for you to have done in 3 months. Okay. Now, some of these are going to be simple. Some of these are about practice and gaining the experience. Because at the bottom, there is the power and energy one. Then there is grounding and centering. Okay. Now, this is something that you just don't read a few paragraphs in DJ Conway's book and consider it done. No, you have to apply this. You have to learn the skill. You have to gain experience from it. And so this can't be done just overnight. Most of these classes probably have some assignment, some form of homework to it, some way of putting this information into your book of shadows. And so it is very important that you go through this list and understand it. Now, some of these we do know because most pagans do know the wheel of the year, and we do know the lunar cycles. But what about everything else? I mean, there's 8 words the ancient law fulfill. That's probably a reference to the Wiccan Read. Ethics and civics in Wicca. You know, it's interesting because I talk about ethics and a lot of people laugh at that, but here it is. An actual tradition, an established tradition in Wicca is talking about having ethics and civics in Wicca. So this is very, very important. Then there's that beginning visualization, guided meditation one. Okay, meditation. Again, this is something that you just don't read about and move on. You have to apply it. Some people have problems with meditations because they can't get calmed down enough and get the focus and enter a meditative state. And so a lot of exercise work has to be done. And as I just said, this is what's all required to become a first degree Wiccan. And so please look at the list and see if you are applying these types of standards to yourself. First degree requirements. A first degree initiate is defined here as a witch who has been initiated into the craft, specifically into Alexandrian Wicca. A member of this coven who holds first degree is considered a witch and initiate apprentice, even if he received first degree in another Alexandrian coven. To receive first degree initiation is to have committed one's life to the craft in general and to apprenticeship with a coven practicing Alexandrian Wiccan. And initiate's training is heavy on classes, but increasingly will involve active participation in the rituals as an officer or acting priestess. He is therefore expected to attend as many espats and sabbats as possible. All coven rituals, except second and third degree initiations, are open to first degree initiates. The minimum requirements for first degree initiations into a coven are: a dedicant must ask the high priestess for initiation. They will in turn discuss this request with the elders and get input as needed from the other first degree initiates of the coven. The elders will then make a collective decision. It should be noted then that initiation does not automatically follow from the dedicant's request. However, if the dedicant's request for initiation is denied, she should be receiving an adequate explanation from the high priestess. Next, the dedicant must have either A, completed all prior requirements, or B, received first degree initiation from another Alexandrian coven, which the person has since left. In that case, the high priestess will contact the high priestess of the other coven to vouch for the accuracy of the initiate's claim. The dedicant must have attended all required classes and a minimum of 6 espats, new moons, and 3 sabbats. At least 4 of the espats must have been attended consecutively. Minimum time that this can be accomplished is 6 months. Okay, this is a part of the structure, and this is why I cannot have much faith into people that have read a book and are all of a sudden high priestesses. Continuing on, the dedicant must have read as a minimum the books required to become a pre-dedicant, The Witch's Way and 8 Sabbaths for the Witches by the Farrars, or A Witch's Bible Complete by the Farrars, Lammas Night by Kurtz, and The Spiral Dance by Starhawk. I want to again state that each tradition is different, and if you are a solitary, you can change the books. I still think you should have the same number, like what they're requiring here, but you need to have, you can have your own content. Okay. Continuing on. The dedicant should continue to keep the following. A magic journal containing observations from his or her personal and magical life which are relevant to his or her spiritual work. B. A grimoire, a craft manual which includes neat class notes, written reactions to books read, bits of lore, and class handouts. And C. The actual Book of Shadows, the book of rituals which he/she has done, written, or participated in. The dedicant should be prepared to share information from their notebooks as appropriate. The dedicant must have memorized the Covenant's Esbat rite and be able to join in on the invocation from memory. The dedicant must have obtained an appropriate robe and an atame, since the atame is both the primary tool used and is a symbol of the witch's will. The dedicant must have chosen a craft name that they will be known as within the circle. The dedicant must complete any additional requirements given by the high priest, high priestess. Please note this is not designed to be a trick clause. Its purpose is to cover cases where the dedicant has completed all the technical requirements but shows a weak area that needs to be addressed before the first degree initiation is appropriate. Since one of the requirements before the second degree initiation is work on the self, additional requirements are often precursors to second degree work, which would have been tackled anyway. As we discussed, there are a lot of classes involved into becoming a first degree Alexandrian Wiccan. Here is a list of the classes that they are, according to this tradition, saying are required. Got ritual notes, the how and why of rituals, notes on the Esbats, casting a circle. And it's interesting because they say our way and eclectics, which means that they are wanting you to learn more than one way to do that. So this is, again, something that takes time and is not learned overnight. We're talking about Wiccan tools and weapons. So we're talking about how the tools are used in their correspondences, your garb, your jewelry, the personality, number one, your affirmations, your knowing your inner self, developing your magical persona, your magical name, these are important parts. There is, initiation 2, which is the training and work of an initiate. I hope to find that someday because I'd like to read that. They're talking about Wiccan mythology and then meditation. Again, meditation is such a broad topic. It's not just like one and done. There's a lot to learn. And so I really like how they have this structured. Now, this is strictly just a list of classes. We do not know how detailed the classes are, how long the classes last, and what's required to get them done. So, but this is again giving you a better idea on how the degree system is structured and what is required to become just a first degree Alexandrian Wiccan. If you like this series, I will continue it because next will be the second and then third degrees of these traditions. I will have the link down below where I got this information so that you can look at it and see, everything that I was saying. So everybody, take care, be at peace.